commands, ideally,
yes,
yeah, a malware, an IDA screenshot. There weren't any IDA screenshots, so no reverse engineering screenshots. So this is for us, it's like it's a problem.
Means there is nothing.
Yeah. And I guess there is something about it. Like we would expect to see which tool was used and how were they used, and some more dumps about the attack. So maybe they will release it someday. But for now, we only got in high level information about how these attacks were conducted and about their findings and their attribution. And I think that this is like a good opportunity to revisit and rethink about our strategy, because there is something new here. Rital, I'll pull the slides up.
Excellent.
Can you see it?
Yes, I think everybody can see the slides.
Perfect.
And thank you for putting your thoughts into, a little bit of structure, because I agree with you. I mean, while you will see in a minute, there might not be groundbreaking new malware, and maybe it's not the most exciting attack, but I think there is a good reason why it caught the attention of the news media and people on chatters and stuff. And we want to actually bring the facts of what we know, and to help people kind of with the framework of how to think about starting to defend this era of AI being used for the attacks themselves and for orchestrating them. So let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. So we put some slides together, just highlighting some stuff that we felt are interesting from the report with our notes around it. So yeah, let's, I guess, start with understanding this campaign and why is it even interesting. So this was the first documented, published agentic attack. We all imagine that this happened. We all assume that this happens, and probably we can assume that nation-state actors and other advanced actors are utilizing agentic infrastructure like was utilized in this attack. But this is the first time that something like this is documented. The second thing here is that it was attributed to a nation-state actor, and Anthropic team was attributed as a Chinese state-sponsored attack, and GTG 1002 was the name that they gave it. So this is also a first time. The third thing that was interesting about it is that it targeted 30 major entities, so technology companies, financial institutions, and government agencies, which is like a very high-profile target, which also make it interesting. And I think that the last thing that makes this attack and report deserve our attention is the fact that it wasn't just an attempt or a POC that weren't successful. It was something that was able to actually create intrusions, exfiltrate data, and this is something that we shouldn't take just like move on. We need to really look at it deeply and see what we can make out of it, and see how we can adopt to this new reality of what this presents. So yes, and we'll speak about it. There were some things that weren't so new about it, but I feel like that the execution model and the state actor operating it and the way that it was operated gives us a chance to now revisit and think about what are the implications.
Quick question, and I think somebody mentioned it in the chat, Roy. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts why Anthropic tools are used here? Why they chose them? Do we have any clue, or what are you thinking about it? Like, why is it that they're using Anthropic?
So I think that they probably using all the tools. So they probably also using all the big AI vendors.
So maybe only Anthropic detected it and the others are
detected,
not.
Or maybe only they published it, maybe only they tracked it, maybe right. Whatever. And when we talk about the change threat landscape, I also assume, and it's safe to assume, that a bit more advanced attacks, because this, like using a Cloud Code, which is a great tool, but it's visible to Anthropic. it's not very stealthy way of conducting such attack. And we can also assume that advanced attackers build agentic infrastructure based on open source technology, which is pretty much available, and the quality should be not that far from what you get from Anthropic. So at least I assume that this happened with other vendors, but of course I don't have the way to prove it yet.
Yeah, so this just basically for people, this is kind of like one view that we get to something that might have been happening in the wild for a while, and this can be copycatted now, right? Others can put it, they can use proprietary models, they can use, open source models. It's basically the Wild West.
It's out there, yes. It's out there.
Okay, yeah.
Awesome. So I'll dive a little bit into this agentic world and what exactly it means. Anthropic gave a really nice architecture diagram, simplified architecture diagram. Any of you that are familiar with the agentic frameworks, it will be trivial. But for those who not, basically we have here the human controlling and operating the AI. In this case, the orchestrator. The AI orchestrator is Claude Code that obviously uses an Anthropic Claude model. And it connects to MCP servers, which is an abstraction layer that allows the AI to interact with external tools. There can be remote or local MCPs, but the key part here is that this MCP can do a lot of functionalities, what we call tools. This is what you see over here. And they can basically now give these tools to the AI to now utilize. And the way that the attacker conducted this attack, these tools were the point of interaction with the victim applications, databases, and infrastructure. So these tools were the ones that making the connections to the infrastructure and not the Claude Code or Anthropic as is. So this is kind of the way that they architected it. It's very standard, just like an agentic workflow. But yeah, this is how it was conducted. And I want to let's talk about what wasn't new here. Because when we read, as I mentioned, a threat report, we look for maybe some novel technique, maybe a 0-day, maybe a new malware that was used. But in this case, we didn't get any of that. We didn't get the IDA screenshot that we were looking for. Instead, we got use of commodity, of open source penetration testing tools, which is on one end boring, like this would be what any pen tester would use to attack a web application. But I think it also shows that the innovation here is not with the specific tools that were used, which, by the way, Anthropic, I don't believe that they released the specific tools that were used. So it wasn't around the tools themselves, but it was around how they were orchestrated, which is in multi-layer and multi-MCP architecture that allowed the attacker to control this AI orchestrator with the Claude Code instance, and basically operate a lot of activities right from there, with kind of autonomously. In the report, Anthropic mentioned 80 to 90% of the tactical work was done by AI. I don't know if we can confirm this amount, but it's definitely from experience with working with AI and agentic web frameworks and MCPs. This is definitely something that can help you to automate stuff, to be more flexible, that can adapt, that can try and make changes and try again and make more changes and try again and so on. So I think there's definitely a shift here in how these attacks are operated, which is extremely interesting. Moving on. Yes, Lital, you want to jump in?
Yeah, quick question. Do you think, and maybe we're touching it in a minute, do you think this orchestration helps the attackers with the speed to actually take the attack? Or is it the ability to do multiple attacks on multiple organizations at the same time? Or is it both? And I think we are kind of like touching, so maybe you don't need to answer me now and we're going through that.
I think that I will answer shortly that I think that it's both. You can do attack faster. You can do it in parallel. By the way, automated penetration testing framework, it's not something new, but the AI gives it like this flexibility which wasn't available. So pen tester would have to really monitor manually the execution of the tools, but here they can do much more with this. So yeah, I'll jump into a bit more details.
Excellent. And then we can kind of like summarize how we think the impact on organization may be.
Yeah, makes sense. So what I want like to share, at least from my view, is that I also saw that Anthropic in the report, they mentioned we are going to put more safeguards and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, which is great. But I think that the commercial safeguards are limited. They and the other AI companies won't be able to completely remove this way of working with AI agents. And on the other end, there is a fully open source stack of agentic AI that you can deploy and manage locally on-prem with no Anthropic and no eyes on that. I believe that advanced actors are like going with this direction. And this, what we saw with Claude, maybe it was like a POC, maybe it was like some testing, maybe they wanted to test the safeguard, but absolutely, if you want to keep yourself stealthy and evasive, you would go with the open source stack that is not less good than any commercial stack that you would get. And I try to really look at the report and extract all the detection opportunities. As I mentioned, there weren't a lot of specific tools to look for specific payloads or whatever. There were a few patterns that are quite standard, I must say, like detecting scanning activity, detecting exploitation, unusual outbound connections, automated credential testing. Maybe the traffic from browser automation is, kind of new, but not really. But maybe not as common as the other detections. And also, of course, auditing for unauthorized account creation and suspicious database query. This is all very standard. Without really tooling, I believe that most SOC teams, most security teams already have detections for most of it or some of it. So there's no real new detection opportunities here. It's very standard to a pen testing activity to see something like that, or just web attacks in general. So because the challenge is not there, it's not around like building new detection. The challenge is somewhere else. So here, what you can see here on the right is that this is from Anthropic's report, and you can see that the time that it took, and you can see the steps that the attacker, that the agent took to compromise the database in this case. After from the authentication, after it's a kind of the more advanced part of the attack. So I skipped there. But basically, they already got the stolen and the credentials, and then they were connecting, and you can see how they get into full data exfiltration. So what we can learn is that we have, as defenders, we have possibly 3 blind spots here. Number one is the volume blind spot. So when someone conducts such attacks against your organization, and this is just on the web application side, you will see a spike of alerts. Now, if we look ahead and we imagine that more and more attackers will start to utilize these techniques also outside of web applications, then we should assume that we were just going to need to face a flood of alerts. Some of them are going to be low fidelity, low confidence, that we will somehow need to handle. So this is one challenge. The other challenge, the next challenge, is actually the speed. In this case, they were able to get to a compromised of unknown database and extract data in a matter of hours. This is something that you would expect like a person that can take much longer than that, like to get to a full compromised. This whole operation was active for 10 days, at least according to the report, and they were able to penetrate and to compromise multiple instances. So this is very impressive, like attacking 30 organizations and being able to actually compromise them in such a short period of time. This is very impressive. Usually, like a standard penetration testing activity would take like 2 weeks to a month for one web application. So this is, I feel like, speeding up the operation significantly. And lastly, there's the context blind spot. So all of this flood of alerts need to somehow be triaged in correlation with each other. Because this is a multi-stage attack, and just one signal may be not enough and not sufficient to really understand that there's an incident here. But if you connect the dots, then you are able to do exactly that. All right. So this is where I try to be. We are here as Intezer. We are a vendor, but it's not like this slide. This webinar is not necessarily about Intezer. But my honest opinion here is that you need to evolve in order to address this sort of threat. As defenders, we need to evolve our triage and response program. When I look at it from this perspective, so we need to make this a strategic shift. Because the attack is autonomous, we must make sure that we also have an autonomous automated component in our defense strategy. So that means that we should be able to investigate alerts in machine speed, not wait to an analyst queue for that. That means that we need to be able to correlate different alerts coming from different tools into one incident or one case. That means that we need to be able to automatically suppress alerts that are irrelevant or that are making noise in order for us to focus on the things that matter. And that means that we need some system that will be able to escalate these things for us. If you look at what Anthropic mentioned in their report, so, and you can find it here in the slide, they said basically security teams should experiment with applying AI for defense in areas like SOC automation, threat detection, vulnerability assessment, and incident response. So these are like the key areas where this attack was had like an interface with the security team around threat detection, around the automation, around incident responses. Of course, they exploited vulnerability, so of course also there. So I know there's a lot of skeptics when it comes to applying AI for SOC, and also there people are saying there's a hype. So I just want to share a few of what we see at Intezer. First of all, yes, we are using a lot of AI, but we are not what I call an AI purist. So we're not exclusively using AI. We actually have a rich background in forensics and in analysis, in reverse engineering, in understanding attacks and responding to attacks. And we put the best tools and techniques for the task of automating triage and investigation. Here, we decided to share some of our stats. So in the past year so far in 2025, we analyzed and investigated over 26 million alerts that came from 175 different security products. Less than 4% of them got escalated. 2 minutes it took in average to investigate an alert, and the accuracy is above 97%. I'm not showing it to make a sales pitch. I will stop here. I just want the audience to understand that we believe there's real impact and real opportunity applying autonomous tools, AI-based, automation-based, forensics-based, but applying them in an automated manner to respond and to investigate and to triage attacks. So yeah, I just wanted to show that it's not just hype, it's real. And what I mentioned, it's from more than 1,000 of different environments that we're processing alerts from. Lital, anything you want to add before I move on?
No, I think, yeah, you said it right. If you think about with tools that people have today, because yes, we're here to sell Intezer, of course, because that's how you and I being paid. But what other things people can think about with the tools that they currently have, the capabilities that they currently have to prepare for that? And obviously, if they find missing areas around investigation, triage, automation, they should talk to us. So help people also understand where they should kind of like make the tools that they already have better if they want to prep for that.
Yes, so I believe that if you look at your pile of alerts that you get to the SOC, which already being
from tools, right?
EDR, from tools, from security tools.
Yeah.
Yes, email, network, whatever, cloud, whatever. And you take a look at them and you start to look for patterns about why did you suppress or dismissed or closed as false positive or as expected activity a chunk of your alerts. Look into them, try to find patterns, and trying to find ways to, one, optimize your detections so they will be higher fidelity and just better. But this is a very tough task to do. But when it's possible, do it. And secondly, work on an automation. It can be something that quick that you build internally, or it can be by utilizing a tool like Intezer. AI-based, not AI-based, it really depends on the outcomes. We believe that the combination will of AI and other tools, it's what's driving the best outcome. But you can find even very simple ideas to automate and just do basic investigation automatically and suppress irrelevant alerts. This will clean up a lot of noise from your table. And you can even, because it's scary, you can start from just like recommending what to suppress and what to escalate. Have your analyst review it and decide, it was the right decision or not the right decision. So you can start from there and then like move it into something that is more actively prioritizing your queue. And it's a complex task. Like we spend years and like large team here to tackle this specific problem. But I believe that you can even start with basic stuff that will give you a lot of value.
Awesome. Thank you. Moving
Sure.
on.
Moving on.
Yes.
So there's other stuff that was really, I felt like when I read the report, I felt like, okay, I really need to think about it, even for Intezer, but I believe for every security leader, is that now we see a new way of conducting attacks, which is orchestrated, which is using AI, and that it seems to be successful. So what does it mean for our offensive security program? So I put again the architecture slide because I believe that we want to see red teams and we want to see penetration testers, internal, external, utilizing similar architecture and the agentic frameworks to test defense and to make sure that we are, as organization, prepared to this threat, not just from a point of view of preparing our detection and triage and response policies and tools and processes, but also from a standpoint that we are actively testing ourselves and simulating this sort of attacks. So I believe that every organization conducting red team activity, pen testing, should adopt some sort of agentic architecture and just use it to attack and simulate attacks, because it will help defenders prepare and will help us find gaps. And ideally, we will just have like a better gap analysis and understanding of our weaknesses using these tools with a combination of human pen testers that they're doing that. So I also believe this is an extremely important. I know there are some startups in this area that are focusing on automating this problem, which I'm very excited about. But in general, I believe that this is something that we should pay attention to. And Lital, I'm basically like in the end, and just like want to summarize the key takeaways. Anything you want to add or
no, I just want to say
before?
for the people listening and viewing, if you have specific questions, that's the time. Drop them in the chat and we'll be happy to answer them. Hopefully we can. Let's go with key takeaways and what should we expect in the future, because it seems like MCPs are everywhere, agents are everywhere. So what do we need to think about?
Yes, absolutely. So just to summarize everything together, and I think that it's clear that there's no magic exploit or something super, I think, like novel in this report, but it introduces a new execution model, which is extremely interesting, because it requires us to rethink our defensive strategy around detection, triage, response, and how we prepare for the next attacks. And if I want to leave you, the audience, with some things to think about, so yeah, just one. Get yourself to a point where you acknowledge that AI-orchestrated attacks are here, and you may going to see it against your organization in the next year. The threat is that this way of orchestrating an attack is very flexible, it's very scalable, it's very fast, and it can really overwhelm your existing defense strategy. So think about it from this point of view. Of course, and I feel like it goes without saying, but I just want to say it, that fundamentals matter. They used standard techniques. So of course, if you are doing vulnerability management, reducing your attack surface, keeping good security hygiene around identities and users and so on, in the end of the day, those are the lowest hanging fruits, and these are what the attackers are going for. So keep a good hygiene. When it comes to defense, I really a believer, and I work day to day on automating investigations and triage. I really believe there's a huge potential there to address this problem. And when it comes to also validating our defenses, I believe that you should rethink also your offensive security strategy, red teaming, and so on. That's it.
Excellent. I think we have a few questions that were pre-submitted to us. So let's start and see how much time we have to address the questions that we have. So I'll start with something that I think a lot of people are thinking of, which is we're a small SOC team. We kind of need to prepare ourselves for what it takes. what would you say are the areas we should focus first? Because obviously there is a lot here that is being covered, and you did mention pen testing already, something to think about. If you're leading now a mid-sized, smaller SOC team, what should you be doing?
Yeah, so it really depends on your maturity and where do you see this. Of course, you should always start with the fundamentals, as I mentioned, like make sure that things are well organized and your hygiene is well. This is always like the best place to start. Now, if you want to do triage investigation, you want to operate the SOC yourself, the 24/7 monitoring, then I would definitely encourage you to experiment with AI SOC tools and ways for you to automate as much as possible. Of course, you can come speak with Intezer, but just think about this problem and try to add automation and AI to that. A part would be significant. And if you work with a partner, an MSSP/MDR to help you with that, you can ask them about them. You can ask them, are they prepared? What are they planning to do? How they incorporate automated investigations and AI into their processes. I know we work with wonderful MSSPs and MDRs that deliver service to small organizations, medium organizations, and I know exactly the workflows, and they are doing a great job on that front. So there's definitely great partners to work with if you don't want to own this part of the security program.
Wonderful that you mentioned MDR, Roy. I think we kind of got a question that is relevant to that. Many organizations use MDR, but the MDRs don't cover low severity, mid severity alerts. And I think you mentioned that some of those AI orchestrated agents generated low severity alerts. So what should be the discussion? If I have an MDR, what should be my discussion with my MDR about this? I'm not sure they're covering it right now.
So your MDR should be your partner, right? Like your MDR, your MSSP should be your partner. You should be able to ask them about that and work with them around that. Ask them how they address it and what happens if such attack would target your organization, and how will they be able to maybe respond to it quickly, maybe correlate things. I think this is a very legitimate conversation. If you are working with an MDR, you should see them as your partner. You should be able to get answers and collaborate with them on doing that. And ideally, I always in favor of testing it. So you can always run pen testing around this area and see if you get the results that you hope for, and if the real attacks are really surfaced to you and escalated quickly.
Yeah, and maybe I will add here that we have many customers that have both MDR and they use Intezer as a way to cover the low severity alerts that the MDR doesn't cover. So that's another option for those of you that are worried about not getting full visibility, not having human beings being able to pick up all those low severity alerts that your endpoint tools or network tools are firing at your SOC. We have seen, unfortunately, that some attacks are actually hiding with low severity. And with those agents, the attackers will be able to test very effectively if the attack is actually generating high severity alerts, and kind of modify the malware and the attack techniques to only be as noisy as below the threshold that somebody will see. So my advice would be, you can keep your MDR. You trust them. You have a relationship with them, like Roy said, but also you can consider augmenting them with some automation tools like Intezer is offering, to consider how you get broader coverage. And basically, the ideal state is to have no alerts that has been fired by your tools go unchecked by at least some sort of automation. Doesn't need to be escalated, but have somebody confirm that this is indeed not an attack and something that could be dismissed. I don't know if you have additional thoughts about it, Roy.
I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, for an automated system like Intezer, we look at these alerts as context. Like it's perfect for us because we can correlate, because we can identify patterns. So we always encourage our users to send as much as they can. We even our pricing model is not per alert, because we don't want them to hold back from what they send to Intezer. So I think, yes, you should apply some sort of an automation. Usually you would see, it doesn't matter if you rely on an MDR or you do it internally, you have a different SLA for lower severity alert, even if it's critical versus high or high versus medium. You have different SLAs. And when you think about an attack that from start to finish can take a few hours, and the data is already exfiltrated, or the damage was already done, then maybe an SLA of 8 hours or even 4 hours, it doesn't really make sense, because you will, even if an analyst gets to review it, it will be already too late. So I think that, yes, I agree that you need to apply automation for lower severity alerts, possibly, as I mentioned, like being able to escalate them if you find something interesting. And of course, if not, you can suppress them and just save your analyst precious time focusing on things that really worth their time.
Excellent. I think with that, we covered a lot. I hope it was interesting and informative for everyone that joined us. Any last thoughts, Roy, for everyone that joined us today?
I would just say that if someone here wants to continue the discussion, just connect over LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to have a continued discussion on that topic. If you have any other information about the attack that I didn't mention, please share it. I'd be happy to learn more. And we also have a blog post, so we can, of course, update it if there's any new information about this topic. But yeah, that's it. Thank you, Lital.
Thank you so much. Thanks for everyone that joined us today. We hope to see you again in one of our future broadcasts. We hope we added some information for your day-to-day. And again, if you have questions, if you want to schedule time with us, please reach out on LinkedIn or go to our website at intezer.com, and we'll be happy to connect with you. Have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful rest of your week. Thanks, Roy. See you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.